Well, we're excited to have back with us Todd Friel. He's the host of the nationally syndicated Wretched TV and Wretched radio programs found on the Wretched.tv. There we go. And we're here to talk about all kinds of things. Hey, Todd, nice to see you again, friend. How are you?
Good to see you. I put on my Father Knows Best sweater for you today.
Well, thank you. We'll roll with that one. Good to see you. Well, listen, not so funny is the seriousness of what the Boy Scouts of America did last week in their national vote to allow homosexuals into the Scouts starting next year. And I guess this is at the Scout level. It's not at the leaders level, but I assume that that's going to be fought for in the future.
Yeah, actually, you know, going right along with that story, in my hand here, I actually have the obituary notice of Common Sense has passed away. Yeah. I don't know if you got that obituary in your paper.
Yeah.
What I think this story is really all about, it's not just the homosexual issue, it's that. But it seems to me this is a great example of the death of common sense in our culture.
Right.
Imagine if I said to you, this weekend I'm taking a group of teenage girls from my church to go camping, and I'm going to be spending time in the tent with them. You'd go, whoa, 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 pal, what is the matter with you? Why? Let's debate the homosexual issue as a separate issue, but can't we at least talk about some common sense?
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's got a lot of people scratching their head. I mean, what in the world are we thinking? And what is the Boy Scouts thinking for allowing this? The vote was 61%, so have we lost all our minds?
Well, one of the things that I think was the problem, the Boy Scouts, the way that they determined which way they were going to go was by polling their members. Well, when we start polling people for what morality is, we're in for some really big trouble, which I think is another issue that has a lot to do with this particular debate. And that is, where are we going to look for our morals? Where do we get our values? Do we get it by polling? Do we get it from sociologists? Do we get it from a holy book? Do we get it from consensus? Do we get it from Bill O'Reilly? Where do our morals come from?
Well, this is a result of pluralism, as you well know. And, at the end of the day, you can believe anything, but we all believe in the same God. So whether you want to call him Buddha or Jesus or something else, it's the same person.
Yeah, I think this is just another sign of the thinking that is going on today. And now that I realize, Perry, this is going to make me sound like Glenn Beck or kind of Glenn Black helicoptery, but I can't help it. Okay, I'm at the radio desk where we do the radio show.
Yeah.
This is my, you see this? This is my stack of stories of things that are going wonky in the world right now.
Right.
It seems to me, I pulled just a few for you.
Okay.
National Public Radio, paid for by you and me. They're promoting it, the Atheist Horror Movie. In all things considered, it's a new horror movie. It's not talking about the devil being scary. Religion is scary, and it goes after the Roman Catholic Church. Suddenly, Christianity is a horror movie. You've heard the story about the young lady in Florida. She's 18 years old. She was having sex with another 14-year-old girl. Now there are over 100,000 people petitioning the state of Florida. Don't arrest this girl. Don't punish this girl for pedophilia. We should let it go because it was consensual. We would never say that if it were heterosexual. An atheist group plans to boycott and protest a homeschool convention in Texas. In Milwaukee, one mother stood up to say, Gender Bender Day? You want my 7-year-old boy to come to school dressed up as a girl? No, thank you. Okay, just a few stories. I would like to suggest to you something radical has happened in our culture. And as a Christian, I think we need to be rethinking how we engage with our society.
Here's Todd, that we are gone from fighting the individual issues, which have its place, but what's slipping between our fingers while we're battling these issues and thinking that our perspective on a particular issue must be law, is that our religious freedom and liberty is slipping through the cracks. Maybe we should refocus and get off the issues and trying to change the law to reflect what we believe and get on the fact that we better protect our religious freedoms or we won't be able to believe anything.
Well, you're not the first guy to suggest that it looks like, hey, all this ground, basically give it up. We better back up to the lines and get behind the protection of our Constitution.
I don't mean I'm not
giving it up. I'm just what I'm saying, because I fight those issues there, but in the meantime, the big picture issues, our religious freedoms are being taken away from us.
Yeah, I didn't mean to infer that, Perry, but I mean, it's, those things have presently been lost. We better look at just protecting ourselves at this point, because it's starting to look an awful lot like Christians have become the bad guys. And again, without being sensationalistic, I think as Christians, we need to stop thinking about being 21st century citizens and start thinking about being first century citizens, where persecution is a very real thing.
Yeah, I just had Dan Wooding on, who reports on the persecuted church around the world from Assist News, and some of those stories are just horrifying, and yet these people continue to go in there and risk their lives to get the gospel out.
Yeah, and we want to be careful when we use the word persecution. Being called a bully or a meanie or an arrogant, intolerant jerk, okay, I'm not sure that rises to the level of real persecution with all, so because we've got pastors right now that are in prisons. We've got 100,000 Christians in North Korea that are in a camp. They have no freedom. So I want to make sure that we understand persecution, but I think it's going to increase. And if we think as American Christians that this couldn't possibly happen here, all we need to do is take a look at, well, Dan would tell you, the persecution around the globe. It happens, it has happened, it can happen here.
So why do you think, if you cross the television dial and you see these massive gatherings of Christians, whether it's at a conference or a seminar, or even or a mega church service, why doesn't that faith translate into the culture Monday morning? What's happened? Why is this slipping through our fingers like this?
Well, I think the very subject that we're talking about right now is going to reveal exactly what that Christianity actually is. I suspect, if I'm right, this is one guy's guess, if the attitude toward Christians continues to grow in hostility, I suspect we are going to see a purging of not all, but many megachurches, of the statistics of many in evangelical Christianity, because I don't think that people are going to want to go to a building associated with those intolerant bullies so that they can have their ears tickled or so they can hear a second-rate concert with some Christian lyrics tossed in. I think we're going to start to see a purging of the Christian movement, and I'm not sure that's a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe it's time. Well, back to the Boy Scouts issue just for a moment. As you know, a lot of churches sponsor Boy Scouts clubs. And what would you say to the churches that now are at a point where they got to make a serious decision? Because if they allow this, you know where that's going to go. I mean, they're going to come right into the church and rip it apart.
Yeah, I personally, I think every church is going to have to wrestle with this themselves. There could be some circumstances where they hold on for a while. I don't think this is the end of what we're going to be seeing in the Boy Scouts or with the entire movement that's happening right now. I would also say to the Boy Scouts, if your concern in making this decision was to stave off lawsuits, get ready, because unfortunately it's inevitable. There will be problems with the new configuration. There will be some kids who get hurt. And if the Boy Scouts were worried about lawsuits, I fear they haven't seen anything yet.
Do you expect an evacuation from the Boy Scouts?
It's already happening. I just read this morning about a big church in, I want to say, either Nashville or Kentucky. I get those two confused, the Bible Belt states, where they just pulled out. And I don't think it's going to take long for more and more to pull out and start looking for an alternative that has the skills that the Boy Scout offers, with the morality that they used to offer. There are some Christian groups that are doing it. I think that they're going to see some swelling in their numbers.
All right, Todd, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back. I want to also talk to you about some other loss of common sense where states now are legalizing marijuana. 12 states now are okayed same-sex marriages, and you kind of wonder what's coming at us next. And we got scandals galore in Washington, D.C., and nobody seems to think it's going to go anywhere. And we'll be right back with Todd Friel from Wretched TV and Wretched Radio. Okay, we're back with Todd, Mr. Rogers Friel, and he is the host of the syndicated Wretched TV and Wretched Radio programs found at www.wretched.tv and seen in thousands of households. Oh, we got to get your TV program. You do it every day or every week, or what do you do there?
We do it every single day, 30-minute TV show, and we do 2 hours of radio every day.
Oh, you're the man. All right. Todd, what's your take on what's happening in Washington right now with all the scandals?
Why are we surprised? Seriously, why are we surprised? First of all, let's just say that we elected nothing but Christian men and women to our government roles. We wouldn't be surprised if a Christian sinned. We shouldn't be, because our theology informs us that even though we're forgiven sinners, we're still sinners. But now let's remove the Christian part. There's no restraints in our society, our flash society, where you can do pretty much anything and it's forgotten about through the next news cycle. We shouldn't be shocked when a lot of ungodly people get together to make decisions that there's going to be ungodly activity. I think, again, this is just emblematic of a much bigger problem in our country, and that is the removal of Christian values, Christian morals, Christian principles, and you're just going to see rotten fruit from a tree of secularism.
You know, that's very well said. At the same time, do you think, where do you think God is in this? Do you think God's judging us?
You know, Romans 1 tells us that God is now judging. It's not just people die and then they go to hell and they punish. No, actually, God can judge now. I think as Christians, we need to be really, 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 really slow, if not completely silent, to say, this is happening because of that. This typhoon happened, that tornado happened, because we can't do that. I think every person needs to interpret what God is saying. But God does speak some general things in situations like this. And I think the message might be repent to the world. But I also think, Perry, that the message for Christians right now might be, we might want to reassess how we are engaging and just what exactly our mission and our duties are as Christians in this society.
What do you think it is?
Well, I happen to, I don't know if you know Mark Dever. He is a Reformed Baptist minister in Washington, D.C., and I give you that credential because he's basically like a 21st century Puritan. He's not a wingnut, he's not radical. He just wrote an article called How to Survive a Cultural Crisis. Even he is seeing something has changed here. Our society has drifted, and now the attitude towards Christians is different. How now shall we live? And his encouragement is to say, hey, let's stop maybe taking a look at what sociologists suggest. What does the Republican Party advise? And ask ourselves the question, what does the Bible say the Christian is supposed to be doing now? And I think we need to get back to the original manual, the original playbook, the marching orders of our commander-in-chief, and ask, okay, how now shall we live?
You know, part of that equation, Todd, because I had a guest on the other day that commented on that, and there's a lot of blame to go around. I think there's three stages we go through: shock and awe, and then once we get through that, we go through anger and blame, and too much of us stay there. And then finally, if you mature through that, you'll take on personal responsibility. Those are the three stages. But let's face it, we're a lot of young people coming out of the church, going into college, and losing their faith. The question has to be asked, are we teaching the fundamentals of Christianity, the catechism of the root of our faith? Are we teaching it? Because we're losing our kids in college the moment they're challenged on what they believe.
Now, how do you expect me to maintain my Mr. Rogers calm?
Take your sweater off and go for it, buddy.
That's the crux of my concern, and that is the culture is not acting like the church. Well, then the church is not influencing the culture in any way, shape, and form. And when you have a society that professes to still be 80% Christian, and yet we see the abortion, we see the immorality, we see what's on primetime TV, you got to ask yourself the question, what is going on inside of those churches? And I think you put your finger on it, not much.
All right. Now, again, there's plenty of blame to go around, but we're going to have to take a look at ourselves and saying, all right, what are we doing and what do we believe? Because there's this easy believism out there that's just not panning out. And we're not careful, we can divide and conquer ourselves to where even worsen things. But at the end of the day, you know, Christians don't know what they believe. They just don't.
Well, then I think that would be the place to start. Okay, who are we? What do we believe? What is our religion really all about? Is it about creating a utopian society where people behave a certain way, perhaps in a Victorian manner on the outside with good manners? They hold their pinky up when they're sipping their tea. Or are we about something different? Are we about forgiveness of sins found through Jesus Christ for the glory of God? Because if we can figure that out, it might determine just exactly how it is that we should be acting and engaging with our world.
Are we afraid to use the word sin? Has it been kind of...
I got to go. I can't listen to that word. I'm sorry.
Come on back. Come on back.
You don't even hear that in these days. They're called mistakes, our errors, our past, but we don't talk about sin. But if we don't talk about sin, then we really don't have much need for a savior. And so I think when you stop talking about the law, when you stop talking about sin, you've really got a gutless Christianity. There's nothing left. And so we turn it into life enhancement messages, teaching people how to handle their finances, raise their kids. But it's nothing about Jesus and forgiveness of sins. And because of that, you've got people with a cultural Christianity. When it gets tested by the fire, or at the university campus with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, they say bye-bye because they prefer the flesh over the Savior.
Yeah, boy, no question about that. With all of these problems, Todd, it has produced an incredible opportunity, because I think if you're ready to get up off on the ladder and look out across the maze, you'll see that the fields are white unto harvest, because everybody's asking several questions. What is truth, and who can I trust? I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, I'm just guessing. I suspect that we're going to have to endure even more debauchery, more sin. I think society, because we still have a conscience, and I think society will see, the way that we've been doing this by ourselves hasn't been working out. I suspect it's actually going to get worse. But then I think people, and God uses this to prepare them for the great news of the gospel, which is not just stop behaving like that. That's not the gospel. Instead, there's a better way. There's the best way. This is what marriage should be. This is what intimacy is supposed to be about. This is the purpose of life. And we can actually present something that is greater than the mire that they are presently just swimming in.
Well said. Well, Todd, you're a delight and an inspiration. How can people watch you, listen to you, and support you?
I do have to confess.
I hear the little train coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Visit us at Wretched.tv. We've got videos there, tons of free stuff. You can listen to the radio program looped every single day, Wretched.tv.
All right. Well, thank you, my friend. And let's connect more often, and we'll look in to see how we can get your TV show over here.
Always a treat. Thank you.
All right. God bless, pal. All right. And that's Todd Friel with us today. Again, it's Wretched.tv. You may want to check it out and listen to the program and watch the television program. And he does a wonderful job, and he takes on these things not only with a little bit of levity, but certainly serious in that he conveys what we all need to hear, what we're all going through. And it's another reminder that we are to be salt and light. And boy, I tell you, I just wish I could express to you the people who are starving for truth. The two questions that we get most of the time is, what is truth? What can I know to be true? And who can I trust? So it really provides for a really remarkable opportunity to share the gospel. So let me encourage you to look for those opportunities where you work, where you serve. People really want to know. And also, I want to say just a few moments here. We have a couple seconds left in the show. Thank you for helping us get KDOB on the air in Brookings. It's up and running, 91.5 FM, serving Brookings and Crescent City. You folks helped us do that, and I just want to say thank you. We can't do what we do without your support, and because of you, we're able to reach out through radio, television, and through the Word for You Today devotional. By the way, the new devotionals are out. If you didn't receive one in the mail, give us a call or go online at theDove.us and click on free devotional. We'll get one out to you right away. And it's our way of saying thank you. And it's a quick devotional that you can read in about, 3.5, 4 minutes every day, and get the Word into your heart and into your mind and soul before you head out on the day. So let me encourage you to get a copy of that. If you've never had one, just give us a call here at the Dove, and that's 541-776-5368, or you can go online at theDove.us. And most of the programs that you watch and listen to are there as well, that you can download and watch again. So thank you for your support. Thank you for believing in, praying for, and supporting the Dove. We can't be on the air without your support, and we deeply appreciate it. Thank you so very much. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.